So now let's talk about the Silhouette. Oh, baby. New Mannequins module, guys.
You don't know how to make chords.
So we're going to listen to this in a second here. But like first, okay. He didn't post the thing. Let's take a look. Mannequins. Whimsical raps. All right, so here's the thing. We're going to take a look at this. And we're going to take a look at some of the interesting things on the user manual that I was like, hey, wow, this is very cool looking. Okay, so, and, oh, let's take a look at this. This is the module we're talking about. Very, very exciting module. And you're like, oh, what the fuck is it? So it's what I'm to understand. And the thing about these Mannequins and Whimsical Raps modules is something that I've noticed is that your understanding of them, of like what you see it does on paper and like what it actually ends up doing and how it behaves are kind of different, interesting, and it's so beautiful. I think that they're one of the most dynamically creative companies out there doing cool stuff. Anyways, let's take a look at Silhouette here. So I'm to understand essentially that this is a mixer. These are the inputs right here. Boop, 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 boop. And you've got an all input there. And I believe, I'm not 100% certain, but I believe that these inputs kind of place your signal in the spectrum here. This is a mixer now, right? But something that's interesting about this mixer is that you're seeing a bunch of inputs here, but there's not really a level. Where's your level control, right? We've got these interesting blur, lens, and focus, right? And we've got this big knob spot here. So my understanding, and we'll watch the video. Well, let's take a watch for the video. 6 inputs in a ring. Is that, see this little window down here? Is that, so my understanding is imagine the six inputs as like pillars, right? And like this mixer scans across these pillars. Think of like a bandpass filter sort of thing, right? And so you're kind of controlling the base and width of the filter, and that is increasing the volume or focusing where you are in the space, essentially, right? So let's kind of just like, you know, watch this in practice. Headphones on, everybody. So they're putting in, and by the way, if you're not familiar, this is Just Friends, and in this mode, as it is right now with intonation all the way to the left, this is generating essentially 6 unique tones out of these outputs here, right? So he's just plugging them all into these inputs and then scanning through them, right? And you can kind of see this represented by this little light here. And then see where he gets to the top, the signal is very, very small. Bend a little. You see how it's moving? So that is very, very cool. This is very, very cool. So what this can do is if you're familiar, I think what this is kind of inspired by is a Buchla module. Called the quad blah 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 interface. This is, by the way, this is me. This is the type of shit I get so excited and dumb about. So you're on this journey with me. So this functionality is really cool, and I think that like sort of where its inspiration comes from is this guy right down here, the 227 system interface. I believe this is the one, right? Oh my God, Buchla, your website is garbage. In terms of, okay, I don't want to wait for this. Buchla 227 System interface. Yeah, whatever. Okay, just show me an image here. So this module has this unique, fun thing here called Spatial Dynamics. And this is a quad interface. And so what you can do is this guy right down here will spin your signal around for you around these quad outputs here. And it's very cool. This mixer absolutely slaps. But anyways, back to Silhouette here. That is kind of what this functionality is doing. Very exciting because that behavior goes all the way up to audio rate.
The sun is free.
Oh shit, the sun is free, you guys. God damn. All right. And of course you can, you know, modulate that, which I'm going to already plant this little seed of like, hey, wow, this could be really, really cool. What if you were patching these in a feedback manner? Or what if these outputs were going into like some sort of, you know, I can't even go, but like imagine the possibilities for intense feedback or strange FM modulation, or essentially like sequential switch style duties. And we're going to keep going because this is so exciting. Incredibly patch programmable module. See how that one gives it a little bit of, that gives it almost like a transient. And it's all mono, baby. Let's hear it. And now something that I think is interesting that we will notice here is that he's patching into the light and shadow inputs and outputs right now. I keep saying he. I'm sorry if I'm wrong. So that's interesting. We're not even hearing this straight up left-right output. And they say shadows appear, which are kind of like, we're hearing a delay, right? So this is not only a mixer, it's also a patch programmable effect, baby. Yeah! I fucking love this shit, dude. Right? So this is pretty cool. This is pretty cool. When modulation shapes change, so our notes sequence follow. So like, I'm gonna be straight up honest with you. I don't really know what he means here. But I think it's just kind of like a little bit of, I think what's happening here is like a little bit of the feedback is playing a little bit somehow with the rest of the functions, which would be incredibly on brand for Mannequins and Whimsical Raps. A lot of the times their modules are very patch programmable, and a lot of the times there's an organic sort of relationship between multiple settings and inputs kind of influencing each other, which is very, very cool. Anyways. This might not be the most exciting sounding demo, but like functionally, we're just taking a look at what this module does. Little LFO flanges into metallic zones. Listen to that. Feedback as a sound source selectable by spot. See, it's creating a little bit of that. Good sounds, good sounds. Very, very into this. Very, very super duper excited, right? So let's continue to take a look at a few more things that are happening here. So this is the manual. They do a really good job of making these manuals. Something that I thought was interesting is like I read this first paragraph to my partner, and she said, "You know what that is that's how people describe high-end perfumes." And I was like, "Oh." I think that makes a lot of sense in my opinion. Jesus Christ, my ear is just itchy. So anyways, ins and outs, 6 DC coupled inputs in a ring corresponding to a 2D plane. Now, see, that's the part that I'm like, okay, cool. So I think it's like Spatial, but then it says no order, no end, just vectors dancing in space, which is like, okay, well, is that poetic embellishment, or is there really no order? I guess we won't know until we play with it. These inputs are combined into 2 output pairs. Foreground presents the light and shadow of your focal point. The background, left and right, moves with stereo rotation, capturing all elements outside of foreground's purview, rearranging them in binaural space. This is a little bit confusing in my opinion because the manuals are a little bit confusing because they are so poetically well written. That's just kind of comes with the territory. But mix/split combines the foreground into the background, presenting a single stereo combination. When in mix, the foreground outputs are still available for general use. So what I'm to understand is this little split mix thing here goes, is mix is going to give you the light and shadow out of the left, right, and otherwise light and shadow, I do believe, are going to be your sort of BBD, like the effect, right? I think Laurel's coming in with some, I think by no order, no end, they mean that spot knob is kind of like an endless encoder. Oh, yeah, I think you're right. Where you can just turn it in one direction forever and never hit a limit. Okay, that would make a lot of sense too, because isn't another one of their, don't they have another, it's not Cold Mac, I think Cold Mac has an end, but don't they have another module like that? Either way, that would make a lot of sense, because you can just keep spinning it. Okay, see, a little more observant. So that's really cool. We're just gonna keep reading this manual just a little bit more. So sorry. So that's the ins and outs, right? And so what I'm also kind of thinking is that left and right is going to give you this stereo field, essentially, kind of like as the stereo field, and that moving around it will kind of like swirl on the left and right. I am kind of curious to see if like the mix mode, if like in split mode, if it does have kind of like a quad functionality, because it's like, it's definitely, there are 4 outputs, but like, can you use it in that like quad spatial sense? I'm not totally sure. Anyways, spot. Perpetual potentiometer. Yep. Laurel, I think you're absolutely spot on here, because it's perpetual potentiometer pointing spot throws a spotlight in the directed input jacks. Wait. When no CV jack is present at spot, an internal modulator is pushed and bent by the converter. So that's the spinning that we got, right? Focus pushes and pulls the shadow output in time, a bucket brigade delay, right? Together with light and analog delay dry wet duality signal. So essentially the focus is kind of like this interesting BBD that they've made, right? And then we might need to let him kind of explain blur and stuff, because I think that I'm not totally clear on how this works, but it sounds cool. So let's continue. Let's continue. Also, I do want to just briefly say that, like, I think that, like, Mannequins and Whimsical Raps and, like, Monome and sort of I feel like this is like, it's like a brand of modular that is like, it's like one of my coworkers is like super into fish. And like, I feel like this is not like, it's not like fish style modular, but it's like this community inside of modular that's just like so into like this particular thing. And to be quite honest, what this particular thing is incredibly patch programmable modules that have a ton of like organic overlap, and then also they all have this guy in the middle here, I2C connectivity with the Monome stuff, and it is so powerful. I was just talking to one of my old coworkers about this actually. It's just like this flavor that, like, if you're into it, you get so into it. And like, sometimes you're just like, I know people who are just like, it's not that cool. And like, yeah, anyways, so let's take a look. We've got the foreground, the background, blending. Mix adds foreground into the background. All right. So I think that actually let's let him cook, right? It's kind of like a bit crushed sort of. I know in the manual they say that they're trying to like have like a 12-bit sort of feel to the lens and blur effects, I think, or lens. See how this little light panel here is both showing you sort of like the white light and the expand emphasizes the difference. These are the different modes in this atmosphere, which I believe these kind of control the effects, this switch. Very cool sounding. So yeah, I wasn't really expecting to just like blab and get totally into this, but like, so this is a bokeh style like reverb, right? And I think that what do they say up here? So right, so analog meets digital. Specular motion requires some digital smarts. Entire signal path from the inputs to outputs remains purely analog. Delay is provided by the bucket brigade delay. Blur is, however, digital and strives to capture the glittery beauty of vintage 12-bit samplers. All mixing is performed in the analog domain under digital supervision. Multiple stages of compression. Anyways, this to me, and then we look into some of the signal transformations here, right? There's a little bit of compression going on. There's a little bit of what you call it, sequential switching. A whole lot of effect stuff. What is a magnetic attractor? What is it doing? I don't know. Anyways. This is really, really cool. The reason if I'm if I'm being hey Spike, if I'm being 100% honest, the reason that my M8 is still listed right now is because I would really love to try this module out. I think that one of the modules that I most am sad that I passed along was my Just Friends. Just Friends was and is probably one of my all-time favorite modules. It's just so much fun. It is the best envelope, it is the best oscillator, and it's a really fun function generator, and it's incredibly batch programmable. And that's what I got to say about that.